live now, so you can talk. What people are seeing right now is the Verdant screen. What people are seeing right now is the... Oh, Andy can hear me. Everybody, welcome in, welcome in. We're going to get right to you pretty soon. We're just going to let everybody file in. Bum, bum, bum. There's some like pretty, I got this like little music thing. Can you hear it? Oh, come on. Oh my God. Okay. So fun. You can't hear it. Are people in chat yet? I don't think anybody's even here yet. I hope we're live.
If we were live, what would we see?
It would just be the Verdant screen.
Okay, I do see that. Oh, is it buffering now?
Oh, there we go. It's in.
Oh, I see people.
All right, there we go. Very slowly. Jeez. I love how safe everything is nowadays, right? Where they send you text, but it is driving me up the wall because it just is at the worst time where they're like, hey, can you shake yourself back in? Can they hear us in chat?
I can hear, yeah.
Can you hear, if you can hear Galileo, say, ew. Can you hear me? Can you hear me on your end?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. People in chat, can you hear Lawson and Galileo? If you can, I say yes.
Getting our be right back. Okay, I see our Verdant screen now.
You can. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. All right. Feeling pretty good. Everybody, we're trying out a new streaming program today, which I know everybody wants to hear. So we are... can't hear you now. It's on Be Right Back. Why would that be the case? All right. That should not be the case. All right. Live now. Seems like we're live. I'm going to hear myself. Nope. It's not on.
Okay, I see our Verdant screen.
Okay. Actually, I think we're pretty good here. Yes, Queen of Flames, I can see you. I can see chat. Chat's up. Chat's up and running. Okay, now I think we're going to... can you guys hear? That was a lie, so everything you hear on this stream is probably not going to be true, so I hope you're all ready for that. Okay, Lawson, I think we're about to go... We're about to go live here. Let's make sure we're up.
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go. Streamlabs, we're going to main capture. I think this is us now. PG trying new stuff scares me. Me too, ducks. Me too. All right, so are we there yet? It's getting there. God, the buffer is killing me on the other side of the screen. Yep. Everybody, once I make sure the screens are shifting back and forth correctly, we can start. This is going to be a pretty long stream. We've got a bunch of dragons to cover, so don't worry about it. You're not going to lose any time with us. I don't see it, my face popping up. Oh, I just did a little fancy thing. Okay, and now it's Lawson on screen.
Oh,
no,
God.
Still a still image. I get you. Should be Lawson on screen in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Is he there yet? Man, this is really great. This is really, really great. Main capture. We're going to see it.
Is the Verdant?
It's it. It's there. Okay. We're back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did it. It's gonna show up in a second.
Looking at the
Yep.
Inception.
This is how the game's gonna look now. I think we're just transforming it. The problem is that the delay from what we're doing to what's actually happening on the stream is about 10 to 20 seconds too long.
Is it that long?
Okay, Lawson, I think you're up now. Now you're picking your ear. Okay.
How long ago was this?
I think that, don't worry about it. Okay, let's go ahead and start this. It's me, you, um, and everybody else. Here we are. You had no idea when you were on screen. Don't laugh. They can see you laughing. Stop it. Stop it. Stop. It's not funny. Okay. Stop laughing. Why? We're doing serious business here. Okay. All right. I'm going to put you off the screen for a second. Everybody, welcome to the Verdant tier preview stream. We are going to be trying out some new programs to make the stream more published, more polished than it usually is. Because right now we're just coming to you live from my room. It's the same as it always has been. Lawson, I'm still watching you laugh on the delay, which is brilliant. Okay, so I guess today we're going to talk about the new Verdant, the Verdant tier, which comes out on Wednesday. Is that right, Lawson?
Yes.
All right. Now, before we get started, just in case there's any new viewers in the audience, Lawson, who are you?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm PG Lawson. I'm one of the game designers on War Dragons. Very specifically, I work on dragons and towers and new events. So, particularly for the Verdant Dragons, I was the main designer who worked on them. I came up with their spells. I worked with the GPF to test them and get them balanced, and I'm super excited to answer all your questions you have today.
Nice. And everybody, I am PG Galileo. I'm the community manager at War Dragons, and I am the one putting together this ramshackle, sort of broken down Pinto from 1974 of a stream. We've got 6 dragons to cover today, and maybe we've got some extra information to learn about the Verdant tier. So we're going to get started. We're about to make a transition to a slideshow. I have no idea how this is going to work, so bear with us. If you see any private information on my computer, ignore it. I'm a human being. It's cool. Okay, we're going to switch to the main thing. Lawson, you are going to go see the Verdant tier deck. Okay, we can see it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So far, so good. All right, here we go. Verdant tier. Let's talk about it. Here we go. All right, so we have our dragons here. We've got Crasta. Is it Crasta or Crasta?
I say Crasta.
Crasta. Like we're gonna have a Crasta dinner. Like he's Crastafarian. Sure. Oh man. Okay, if Crasta is popular enough, I really want one of the community members to start a Crastafarian sort of a following here. Okay, Crastafarians, let's unite. Next up, we have Carrion. Carrion. He's the vulture. Carrion.
Yeah.
He might be my favorite actually.
He's super cool.
He's just cool looking. He also sort of like reminds me of me when I wake up. Just not very kempt. You know, it's sort of like. I'm not really sure how to get out of bed. And then next we have Rosaeus. Rosaeus is pretty spiny. Digging it. Obviously, Rose themed, right? Mm-hmm. It's got the name. It's right in there in the name. Montague is actually I think he's the new handsome boy. Montague's the new handsome boy dragon. Look at how proud he is. Oh, yeah. I'm into it. He's got better hair than I do. And then we have Makota, who is some sort of elk dragon, which you know what I want to talk about that I'm not super happy about, Lawson. Like I don't want to think about how Makota was made. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like there was a dragon and an elk, you know, and I need to get this off of here. Oh snap! And you know, a dragon and an elk. They were hanging out at the local pub in Canada, probably because that's where elk are. And they were like, you know what? We should mate. We should mate with each other. And anyways, for those of you in the audience who don't know, when a dragon and an elk love each other very much, well, never mind. Okay. And then finally we have Sephoth. Sephoth is actually a little different than all of the other dragons because he's more ocean-based, isn't he?
Yeah. So this is like these dragons kind of take place in a dark, spooky, magical forest. And it's kind of on the edge of the world, and right next to it is like the ocean. And we were trying to figure out, like, okay, if all the dragons are kind of nature-y or foresty, then that'd be neat. But we were trying to figure out if we could get like something that feels pretty unique and different. And we had a really cool idea for how we wanted the dragon to play, and we felt that like a water ocean aesthetic would fit best. So like, we can put a squid in here. We can get away with it.
Well, what I like about it is it's sort of you're on screen again, Lawson. Just so you know, stop picking your nose, okay? That's where I find bronze chest in your nose. So let's that's the best place to find those drops. Okay, so here's what I like about Sephoth. All right, he or she, it is sort of reminds me. It sort of harkens back to the last tier, right? Like the Eldritch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like how you took a moment and you're like, is he done talking? The answer's no, Lawson. I'm never done talking, and I appreciate you for giving me space. I need that buffer room.
Of course.
Okay, we're going back to black here. How do I? All right, we're share this tab. Oh my God! Why? Oh my God! All right, we're back here. All right, there's something crazy is going to happen on the screen. Okay, here we go. Everybody in chat, there's something real crazy is about to happen. Yeah, you're seeing it right now. All right, anyway. Here we are. Lawson, can you see that I moved on to obtaining the Verdant Legendary screen? Yes? Did I lose you? Oh, boy. I lost him. Lawson? Lawson, are you there? Oh, boy. This is incredible. Lawson, are you there? I cannot hear you. Try it again. This is insane. You're stuck in an echo chamber. All right. I'm going to stop sharing this tab. Or can you hear me? Now we're good. Goodness gracious. This is incredible. Okay, everybody, we're trying. If you just joined us, we're trying a new program, and it is not easy to maneuver with only one screen. We're going to try to go back to this. I'm going to share. I'm going to present this other tab. We're going back to it. We're not going to try to get fancy anymore. Okay, can you see this, Lawson? Obtaining the Verdant Legendaries.
Yes.
Okay, we're not gonna deviate from this. Here we go. Obtaining the Verdant Legendaries. These 6 dragons will release at a cost of 1,600 egg shards per dragon.
1,500.
Huh?
1,500.
Oh, it's 15. Everybody, there's something wrong here. It's 1,500 egg shards. Make sure to write that in chat so everybody knows. Then each dragon will be incubated at incubator level 17 and player level 495. And then the dragons can be exported at dragon level 40, dragon level 10. Dragon's Den level 125, player level 497. Not available at launch. It'll be available next week, the week after?
A little later. So we were repeating the release format we did for Eldritch, where the tower levels and the den levels came out over multiple fort events. So everything can't be like super maxed out on the very first day or week of these dragons being out. So I don't want to bring up exact numbers because I don't know them off the top of my head. Okay. But Den 25 is when these dragons are going to expert, and that will be coming out, I think, within 1 or 2 fort events after these dragons releasing. Okay. And then that'll also be true for the mythic dragons in Sunscorch, Lockjaw, and Howazem, and they will expert at the same rate that these dragons do.
Okay, by the way, Lawson, you're on screen again. I like just throwing it up there randomly. All right, anyway. Okay, so hopefully next week, by the way, or the next time we do a stream, we'll have a Zoom so we can see each other at the same time, which is pretty annoying. That, by the way, Google, if you're listening, I know Google, everybody at Google likes to watch the War Dragon stream. If you're listening, we would like to see each other at the same time. I don't want to have to get another app for it. I don't want to have to get an extension. I just want to be able to see all of my friends at the same time. Okay, we're going back to the presentation. Here we go. Let's hope we can get back there. And I am terrified every time I have to make a change. Okay, here we go. And present. Okay, we're back in. You see it, Lawson? Okay. Boom. All right, new research tiers. We don't have to spend too much time here. All of this information will be available in the deck tomorrow in a blog post. We're going to have a blog post coming up with all this information. It's essentially this. Anything that we want to point out here that's interesting?
We haven't done spell-based research in quite a while. So the big notable ones here is we have research for Blood Fury and Adaptive Resist, which are two spells that were introduced with the Harbinger tier of research. The one I'm most excited about is the Blood Fury research, because it doesn't actually affect how often you get rage. Because right now it's like 4-second duration, 4-second cooldown, and now it's going to go to a 5-second duration, 3-second cooldown. So it's the same amount of rage over time, but you spend more of that time being able to heal. And I think that's like a pretty interesting way to improve how Blood Fury plays without having to like just give you more rage over time, which is very powerful.
Okay. Dope. Next slide. Boom. Okay, we've got our first legendary. This is our boy Crasta, Crastafarian. Obviously, we've got some Vine situations going on. Again, he's sort of got this very Cthulhian, Lovecraftian sort of tentacle thing going on here. Am I right?
Yeah. So Crasta, his entity came out of like this crystal in his chest, and the vines have kind of overtaken this dragon. I'm not sure actually if it's like a dragon that also has a crystal, or if it's like, it doesn't look super rocky. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like weird symbiotic crystal magic relationship. But actually, I'm really excited to see him in game because he's got that really cool glowing crystal in his chest, and you can like see it in the den and in the roster. It looks awesome.
Yeah. I saw him flying already. He looks super cool. I think he's like like if a Borolith just sort of like went into the mountains and like started writing the great American novel in a cabin, and then he came back. He's like if a Borolith wanted to be Ernest Hemingway or Henry David Thoreau. So that's what I'm seeing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, hilariously, because his name rhymes with pasta, you could also argue that he looks like he's just really enjoying a huge bowl of pesto. Right? Look at him. He's like, man, I love pasta. Oh, God, I want more pasta. Give me more pasta. Let's look at his spell kit. Crasta is our first legendary Earth Warrior. Not our first one, I'm sure, but this is Crasta. Okay. Breeding pairs Brutus and Annelid. Annelid?
Yep.
Wow, man, I just guessed that. All right, let's talk about his spells real quick. So you know these dragons better than anybody, definitely right now. Yep. So what are you thinking when you were designing Crasta? What was the goal?
So at a very high level, where we got the concept art for this dragon way before we were thinking about his spells. So he was clearly like very strong with earth magic, and he had these vines, and like, okay, we got to make a thematic dragon that fits how he looks. So at his first spell kit, or his first spell of this kit, and it's probably his most important one, it's Entangle. It's a spell similar to something like Flash Freeze, where you're going to like instantly damage and freeze all nearby towers. And then any towers that you hit with this spell will also take increased damage for the rest of battle. Okay. We are trying something new, and normally these spells have not been able to have cooldowns. The only way they were gated is with rage cost. And that meant that you could cast it over and over again as long as you had the rage, which was a lot of damage, and you could permanently freeze the islands. But that meant that the rage cost had to be pretty high. Otherwise, like if you had a 1-cost freeze and you could cast it every like 2 seconds, that would be absurdly broken. So because the spell is a cooldown, it can have a much lower rage cost, and that means that the dragon doesn't have to spend all of its rage on this spell, and we can put more power in its other spells. So I'm really hoping that like this more utility-focused type of AoE freeze is going to play really well and quite differently from how these spells have traditionally performed in the past.
Dope. Lawson, while you were talking and being super, super interesting, I have figured out a way for us to look at your face
I see it. Excellent.
Wow. I'm a regular Nikolai Tesla over here. I'm like Henry Ford. I'm Steve Jobs. What am I doing? I'm learning all the things. Okay, so do you have anything more to say about Crasta? Or do you expect Crasta to be one of our players' favorite dragons, or do you think he's going to be, not?
I think the dragon I would liken him the most to is Death Star from Vanguard tier. And Death Star was awesome, and they have a very similar set of spells. The colors and the cooldowns and the values are pretty different, but he has a repeatable spell flux. In this case, it's called Nature's Wrath, and it's very easy to cast over and over again. You can loop Nature's Wrath to destroy the towers that you need to. It has Infusion, which is a way to keep giving yourself rage, and you can also get health back when you destroy buildings. So you can cast Infusion, get 2 rage, spend the rage on Nature's Wrath, and loop those 2 spells. It has a lot of good defense between Magic Barrier, which is a brief invincible shield, and Entangle. So it's very hard to rage drain this dragon. And he's doing a lot more than the average warrior, I think. He's a lot more spell casting, a fair amount more thinking, and casting a lot of spells in a very short amount of time. Mm-hmm. And at least to me, I think that's pretty fun. He's much more active, and most warriors, or at least a good number of them, they're kind of put out there as this is a simpler dragon. He's just got a powerful flamethrower and he can burn everything down. And I really like that this dragon has a lot more decision making than the average warrior.
Nice. Okay, chat. While Lawson is talking to us about the dragons, we're looking at the spell kit. Go ahead and ask questions. We'll field questions about the dragons for a few minutes after each dragon is being presented. So we're going to give a moment for Crasta here. You know how I gain rage, Lawson?
How's that?
Trying to set up a stream.
Oh, me too, man.
Just raging. Now, I if I had Nature's Wrath, well, sometimes I do have Nature's Wrath. You know what I'm saying? Just if I eat something wrong, the wrong kind of pasta. Everybody, that's a poop joke for you in chat. Anyway, any questions about Crasta before we move on? I know I gave you all 5 seconds. No, I'm not seeing anything. All right, chat, we're going to move on. I gave you your time. I gave you a chance, and I'm out of patience. I don't have any more gifts for you. If you have any questions about Crasta, put them in the chat. We'll get them at the end of the presentation. Okay, so next we're moving on to Carrion. Okay, this is my boy. I love him. I've seen him fly in game already. Okay. He is amazing. He also is one of these weird mixed. I've seen people say that they don't like the fish dragons, or the dragons that sort of kind of mix in with other species. And we already talked about Makota earlier. I don't want to get back into it, but he's going to come up later, so we're just going to have that weird conversation, address the elk in the room. But look, Carrion's awesome. He's obviously got some vulture background. He's half bird, half dragon. He's that little kid in Jurassic Park, Lawson, who's like, do you know dinosaurs turned into birds? And you're like, yes, God, we get it. He's like that kid as a dragon. What do you think about Carrion? You invented him. What's going on with him?
When I saw this art, and way back, this was just a sketch of just a pencil drawing, and I was like, oh man, something about this dragon is super cool. He's about as huntery a hunter as you could possibly get. He looks menacing and cool and dangerous, and I personally I quite like birds, and vultures I think are pretty underrepresented in a fantasy setting. So the fact that we could have a vulture dragon seems pretty awesome and pretty unique. So aesthetically, I think he's fantastic. For spell kit, I am also equally excited. I think out of all of the dragons, I enjoy how Carrion flies the best. So
are you telling me that, let's say you're taking all these dragons, you get to keep one, you only get to earn one. I mean, you have to earn more if you want to move to the next tier. But Carrion is the one that you're taking home to mom?
I think it's actually pretty close. I would say yes. but one of the two sorcerers is very, very high up there and definitely competes with Carrion. But I think that our bird friend takes the cake.
Okay, because right now I'm kind of a Carrion guy. Like, I'm taking him home to mom. Like, mom's gonna be like, "What is this? Is this what you've been doing out there in San Francisco?" And I'm like, "Yeah, making bird friends, Mom. What are you doing out here?" It's a conversation we have. I don't want to get into it. But let's look at his spell kit.
Sure.
Oh, Lawson, you did not ask me how my mother was doing after I brought her up deliberately in conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry, Galileo.
Where I'm from, that's like... Anyway, we'll talk about it later. Talk about it after the stream. Okay, here we go. Carrion's spell kit. He's a legendary Dark Hunter. I know some people in the forum, some people in the community were salivating. We might actually, small aside, I might actually be able to show you how some of these folks look, some of these dragons look in-game at the end of the stream. I don't want to try to switch it up too much because, God, I don't know what's going to happen. But I might be able to show you soon. Actually, CF has those videos. If you beg CF, the creators faction, they might actually be able to help you out with that. So I'm actually going to let them do it because they want those views, those hits, and they work so hard for you guys in the community. So anyways, we're back to the deck. Carrion. All right. Breeding pair, Mordred, Glacia. Let's talk about his kit. You said he's the Huntery Hunter.
Yep, he's the Huntery Hunter, and the Huntery Hunter needs Hunter's Mark. I really like this spell. I know for Atlas, mark spells are notably less powerful because they can't mark monuments, but between the runes that are available on some of the seasoned dragons that have affected Hunter's Mark, and since we believe we buffed the spell a number of seasons back, it's just been very powerful. One rage gives you a third of your health back and an extra rage. Like, that's absurdly powerful. We have Gloom Bolt, which is a Death Gaze Umbral Spike style spell. One rage, kill a tower. Fantastic. Really good with Hunter's Mark. You spend one rage to mark the tower, one rage to Gloom Bolt it. You have a dead tower. You have 30% of your health. You've spent no rage. That's great. Mm-hmm. Back for actually our previous lineage tier in Eldritch, we tried something on Caress, the jellyfish dragon, and it was kind of like a spell that heals you and gives you lots of ammo regeneration for a short amount of time. We really liked how that played, so we brought back a similar type of spell. For a short amount of time, you get 800% increased ammo regeneration, which is just code for pretty much you have infinite ammo for 2 seconds. Awesome. And that combines really well with Lurk, which is a white cloak. It's like a Shadow Strike or Dissipate, where you cloak briefly and then you uncloak, and when you uncloak, you gain increased breath damage. And then the cooldown is very short on this, so if you don't want the increased breath damage, you can cloak and then cancel it with the breath attack, and then you only have that 1 second downtime before you can cloak again. So if you need to cloak multiple times in a very short amount of time, and you need to like dodge Crystal Howitzer and a Mage Tower and something else, then you'll be able to do that as well.
Carrion and I have a lot in common. Whenever I uncloak, people tell me to cloak. They're like, put your clothes on. Put that cloak back on. So I get it. So I like Carrion because one, I think he's creepy. He's a bird. My real last name's a bird name, so I kind of have a natural affinity for that. Even though I think that birds are actually kind of creepy, like little robots, and they don't have like whites in their eyes, so you can't see what they're looking at. But I'm pretty excited to play with Carrion myself, even though I'm like level 245, so I will not be playing with Carrion for years, which is sad. Actually, everybody, I might just give myself Carrion and then make some videos and so I can play with him here on stream. So it seems like I'm actually doing something for the community, but it's actually for me because I want to play with Carrion. I'm just being honest with you. It's going to be for me, but you guys can benefit from it as well. I'm sort of kidding, but maybe not. Okay. Any questions in chat about Carrion? I'm looking in chat. Remember, hi F, nice to see you. I'm giving a shout out to people now. Dinah Ford, nice spells finally. Okay, Lawson, you got a fan in Dinah Ford. Who else we got? Blackfire says Carrion looks like he's having a rough hair day. You know what, Blackfire? That might be his choice. He might like that. So maybe we're okay here. Any questions about Carrion before we move on? Giving it just a few more seconds. It is hot in San Francisco, Lawson.
Please don't remind me.
I have like a little thin layer of sweat that's sort of just around me, like Superman's force barrier that kind of surrounds his entire body. And like it kind of feels like I'm like just like leaking with places where I shouldn't leak. Okay, next. Everybody, if you're hot and leaking, let me know in chat. Or you don't have, you keep that to yourself. Actually, the smart move is to keep that to yourself. We're moving on. That's not good social protocol. I don't know why you should not take advice from me. Rosaeus! Oh my gosh. So Rosaeus reminds me of Amadeus, and I kind of want Rosaeus to have a song. Rosaeus. Anyway, Rosaeus is the, obviously, rose/thorny dragon. So Rosaeus is... So I don't. We don't really give all the dragons. We don't really assign them genders a lot. But is a Rosaeus a she? Is that how I'm referring to it?
That's a very complicated question.
That is. Maybe it's like the frogs in Jurassic Park that change. You know, when they go into the sap and they get it, and they're like, "Well, how the dinosaurs breeding?" And then they're like, "Oh, the frogs change." Anyways, I really just want to talk more about Jurassic Park. Okay. Rosaeus looks pretty cool. Actually, I like the color scheme. I know there's some community members out there who really love a pink dragon, and we got a pink dragon. But it's not like that sort of that bright neon pink. We're looking pretty grounded here. We're looking pretty grounded. So when you were developing Rosaeus, what were you thinking?
So the main thing when considering a sorcerer is like, how are all their spells going to work? Because unlike the other, like the sorcerer's spells have got to be good. It's got to be fun. It's generally got to be pretty busy or active. You're doing a lot. You're thinking about a lot. And this Rosaeus actually came like mechanical first. We had this idea for how we wanted the dragon to play. And then we worked on making those mechanics fit the visuals. And it actually, I think, it turned into a pretty good mix of the two. The dragon is very rose/flower themed, all of its spells, the names, the visuals, etc. But it also like has a very clear mechanical identity. When we were working on the dragon, like this seems pretty good. Is this like, are we like accidentally making a mythic and just putting it in the legendary slot? I don't think so. Maybe a little, but this is the dragon that was contending with Carrion. I think in general, I just like hunters a lot, and therefore I'm never going to probably not like one that I make. So Carrion's just like a very safe comfort pick, but as far as like something new that is surprisingly fun, I definitely go for Rosaeus. It's definitely more like probably I'd put them at maybe the second most powerful dragon of the six, maybe first even, between that and Carrion. But either way, like they're working with this dragon, testing this dragon was like so fun. Like just learning how to fly it, being successful, and like, oh gosh, that was fantastic.
So, Lawson, I have a question for you. When you're designing dragons, it's pretty much just you, isn't it? I don't think there's any, maybe RDM, I guess, designs some stuff, but like, when you're making dragons, and do you just ever want to create something that like you really want to play all the time? And how do you also create dragons that you're not so interested in? Like maybe you're not into invokers, right? Or are you into all of the dragons because you make them all?
That's a really good question. RDM and I are the two main designers that work on dragons. Though in the early stages of like the very early, like, okay, we're trying to make something out of nothing, we will float ideas to the entire design team. Like, we want a dragon that does this, or we want to make a really complicated dragon or a really simple dragon, and we can get thoughts from everybody, and we can take that feedback and then start working on it ourselves. RDM and I talk very frequently about, is this dragon doing what we want? Is it too complicated? Is it too good? Is it fun enough? All those sorts of questions. As far as coming up with dragons that please everybody, that's very difficult. Like, I really like hunters, very mechanically intensive dragons. If I'm flying it for the first time and I feel like I think I know how this works, then the dragon is too simple for me personally. I really like dragons that you need to fly a lot to learn, but that is very intimidating to a lot of players. And I totally get that sometimes you don't want to have to be like thinking like you're taking a test every time you're attacking a base. And making dragons that are easier to learn or more straightforward, or the combos are simpler, that is very challenging. And that really comes out in seasons, because different players want a lot of different things out of a season. Sometimes you just want to replace, maybe you're in Platinum or Sapphire, you're trying to replace a new legendary dragon. Maybe you're a brand new player and this is your first season, and you don't want your first season dragon to feel too complicated or too scary. And then maybe you've been playing the game for a long time and you're going for a mythic, and that dragon needs to feel powerful and cool and complicated and something you're going to have for a very long time, and you're going to grow with it. And trying to balance all of those different aspects is quite challenging. I do that a lot by asking other people on the team to what they think of dragons. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of people who play the game different amounts. They're at different levels. They're in different guilds and different ranking tiers. And everyone has an opinion with what they like. So like I'll present, hey, we've got like 5 dragons here. Does one of them sound good to you? And generally everyone will like one the most. And ideally, if I can ask enough people and one person likes every dragon to where one person, oh, that one's the best, and someone thinks that each of the dragons is the coolest, then that's a really good indicator that that season or those dragons are going to be well received by all of the community. Because there's like trying to make something for everyone, whether it's a cool piece of art or a pink dragon or a goofy dragon or just something that follows the rule cool and like looks super badass. Like making sure there's something for everybody is really important to me, because like there's so many different players with different desires and different ways that they want to play, and we should be able to create something for you guys so that you can have what you want.
100%. Okay, I've got more questions for you because that spawned a lot of questions. We got a quick question from chat. Do the Pushins contribute on building the new drags?
Probably. I think we've
probably. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of all this since we've been working primarily from home. Which dragons have been made? It was definitely the Sun-Scorched dragons and these dragons. So they're good company. It's nice to have something soft and cute nearby, and I can't have pets in my apartment. So what better substitute than fake internet cats?
That's right.
So
the music just got really hardcore, by the way, when talking about Pushin. Anyways, that was my guitar. All right, we've got Rosaeus' spell kit up here. Let's talk about it.
Sure. So Rosaeus' first spell, probably its most powerful spell, is Fiery Thicket. It's like Namaka's Deflecting Gale, in that you will damage nearby towers and dodge projectiles. Notably, you will only dodge projectiles and not beam attacks or lightning tower attacks. And the spell lasts for a moderate duration and has a long cooldown. But it is notably red, which means that you can cast the spell whenever you want. You'll always get the dodge, but you will only damage the towers if the red mage tower is taken down.
I see.
And Rosaeus' best way to do that is with Bramblethorn, which is another Death Gaze style spell, though notably this one costs 2 rage and has no cooldown, so you can cast it as often as you want, which is on paper really scary, but if you have 5 rage, you can only cast it twice, and then you're going to run out of rage. You also need to balance between casting Fiery Thicket and Bramblethorn, and having 2 spells that cost 2 rage would normally be a lot, but we have Blood Rose, which I'm very excited for. It's probably actually the most important spell on the dragon. Is at any time you can just spend a percentage of your health to get rage for free.
So you could Bramblethorn until you die. Basically, you could Bramblethorn Fiery Thicket. Lawson, you froze. Okay, you're back.
Okay, we're good. Yeah. So yeah, you can. Bramblethorn as much as you have health, pretty much. And that's really powerful, and it was quite difficult to balance. Provided that you've gotten rid of the Blue Mage Tower, you can hit Blood Rose and then either Bramblethorn or Fiery Thicket. Or if you're casting Blood Rose too many times and you're starting to lose health, you can loop Blood Rose and Super Rejuvenate to get 2 rage, spend 1 to heal, and you'll heal more than you spent. So you can like net health and rage at a slower rate. Or you can just like, I'm going to spend half my health and then cast all these crazy spells. So
this is like one of the first dragons where I feel like I would have the most fun with spell management.
Yes.
Krelos, I love Krelos. He's my favorite dragon. And I love, it's my favorite, and he's the easiest dragon, I think, because you just kind of bomb everything when you go by him. But one of the things I like about Krelos is I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, is the timing right? Am I going to hit this at the right time? Then am I going to be able to gain enough health and maybe able to survive these islands? And I can see myself doing that with Rosaeus. Now, by the way, I'm sure you do that with a bunch of other dragons. I just haven't played for very long. And Krelos is the dragon I use the most. But Rosaeus looks really fun to play, and I'm excited in about 4 or 5 years when I reach this level to play Rosaeus. So that's really exciting for me. And it's just funny. I didn't really understand. I didn't really understand what I was until I hear you explain it, right? And so one of the really things I like that you do. So everybody, if you don't know, when we have the spotlight videos, Lawson's dulcet baritone is the sweet sounds of that voiceover. So he's like, imagine if Walt Disney kind of like narrated his own cartoons. That's kind of what's going on here. But I loved hearing about Rosaeus just now, and I'm excited to play the dragon. Play the dragon.
Saw a good question from Blackfire. Is there a reason we're using old spells like Super Rejuvenate instead of more recent versions like Regenerate? That is a good question. Recently, we buffed Super Rejuvenate for our Borolith, and we really liked the power level of that spell. Like 1 rage for 30% of your health feels really good, and also has no cooldown. Regenerate being free and having a longer cooldown is on paper pretty good, but particularly for a dragon that can generate a lot of rage, we don't want those sorts of dragons. Don't need free spells because that kind of undermines the decision making, because like Regenerate is generally like, okay, if there's no blue mage and it's off cooldown, I push the button because it's free and it gives me health. With this, because the spell has a rage cost, you need to choose to use it, and you need to choose spending rage for health versus spending rage for damage. And that, using your health to get rage to then make choices about which of the 3 spells you want to cast at any given moment, is like the really core identity of the dragon. And mastering how you make those decisions is really important. And a free spell doesn't really have much decision making because you just always want to use it whenever you can.
Thanks for the questions, chat. Keep those questions coming. We'll be answering them as we go through the dragons. Next up, we have... Who is next? I don't remember. Is it Makota? Oh, it's Montague. Handsome boy. Look at his... Okay, look at Montague's forearms and look at his biceps. It's not fair. It's really not fair. Like... Did he even have to work for those? What's going on? And he's got like this. He's got this great hair. I love Montague. He reminds me of a what do they call it? A griffin? He's a griffin, right?
So he doesn't have the beak though. So he has sort of has the beak. He's not like Griff though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so
like he's kind of gorilla-y. He's really like furry and fluffy, so he's not quite. But like. He sits on his knuckles.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's pretty different. But, oh, God, he's so handsome.
Yeah, he's a hot dragon. I mean, I'm going to be the one to say it. You got me on camera. Nobody clip that, please, and play it. So, Montague. So, we obviously have some sort of throwback here to Romeo and Juliet. Why Montague? Why the name?
Lacrima and I were looking at this concept art, and we're like, he's kind of brutish, and he's really proud, and he's kind of primeval. And we thought that would be a pretty funny juxtaposition with a like Renaissance / really proper sounding European name. and
Yeah.
it really fits him, which is really before it's like, okay, this is kind of a funny joke, but we kind of sat there. It's like, okay, I'm down for Montague. Like he fits. He's got like the dignity and the pride, and he's not like, yeah, he's kind of like majestic, and like it just seemed to fit.
Yeah, actually, I think so too. Like if the dragons could talk, which maybe they can, we'll have to ask Lacrime. Like Montague, I feel like would have like a very proper received pronunciation, British accent. What are you doing in my parts of the woods? You know, something like that. By the way, that was a perfect British accent. Nobody should talk about it unless you're complimenting it. But yeah, Montague, I think it actually fits. I think Montague would have been funnier for Makota. Actually, Makota is terrifying, but Makota has some. We're going to talk about Makota's breathing. Oh no, got Slack popping up. Okay, how do I close that? Okay, that could have been bad. Anyway, you were designing Montague. Did you come up with the? So actually, I've got a question. Do you get designs first and then you design, or is it sort of a happening at the same time kind of thing?
Definitely both. Sometimes I will like while I'm working on something else, or even on my off hours, I'll like come up with a dragon that does this and that, and then I immediately write it down. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're looking for art that matches that idea, and that's like a top-down design where a bottom-up design where you start with the mechanic and then you build from and then the art comes on top of it. And then there are also designs where you get a piece of art and have no spells, and you're like, how do I make spells that fit the art? And
so that's a pretty important synergy then, I guess you would say. Mm-hmm. Like you don't just get I actually didn't know this. This is news to me. I was like, I wonder if they just randomly pair up spell kits with the like I didn't know the actual design process. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's never you can never really force it, because you can always like make art to match the mechanics, but the best outcome is like when you have the best of both, where the dragon's function is cohesive and it's like well designed mechanically, but that also fits the art. Like you want to look at Carrion, mm-hmm. and just looking at the art, what do you think the dragon does? And you're like, well, looks like a hunter, he looks pretty deadly, he looks kind of sneaky, and then do the spells reflect that?
Nice.
And then if you have a design where like, okay, I want to make a dragon that's all about chain lightning, and you are limited in what dragon's art you can pair with a dragon that wants to cast chain lightning all the time. And you could force it, but then it'll be dissonant and it'll be kind of weird. So like you want like the spells of the dragon should generally match the dragon's element, and that should also match how the art and what the dragon looks like. And trying to hit both is best, and I try to do that as often as possible. I really like building from the art. I find that a very interesting challenge. Like in case of Montague, for a battle perspective, it's not super clear what he does. Like he looks beefy, he looks pretty strong, but I don't think this piece of art lends itself to like, well, what does this dragon play like? Like, what does he do? And we'll be getting into that very shortly, but I was really pleased with how we took Montague from a piece of art to something playable in the game. And he's pretty unique and different, and also the art for his spells is fabulous for what he does. So,
yeah, I think his spotlight video, which I've seen because I was putting it together, I say I was putting it together. I'm taking credit for it, Lawson. I was putting it together with my own skills and my own ability to edit videos, and it looks pretty awesome. Since we're listening to Maw of the Beast, we're going to go ahead and look at his spell kit. Let's go. Wait, wrong window. There we go. Legendary Fire Warrior, Breeding Pair, Mordred, and Annelid again. I hope that's not left over. Nope. Okay. What do we got?
Sure. So Montague's main spell is Boulder Smash, and the main inspiration for this is, okay, what does Montague do? And you're like, well, he looks really buff, so he probably can pick up boulders and throw them at stuff. So he has a boulder smash functions like a freeze. It's just a repeatable, very low cooldown freeze, and the freeze duration, the cooldown duration are the same. So you can repeatedly freeze the same towers over and over again with the ability. So that's particularly powerful. The AoE is probably big enough to hit like 3 or 4 towers, so you can like permanently freeze like half a base while you go about destroying the rest of it. We also have Shield of Savagery, which is a more complicated shield than we're normally doing. The first time we saw something like this was Ferocious Barrier, which was, I think, also in Vanguard and quite a long time ago. But you gain a shield that blocks all the damage that you take for a short duration. And when the shield expires, you gain bonus breath damage based on how much damage you blocked. So you want to use this shield to tank as much as possible, and the better you do that, the more bonus damage you get at the end. And then that's kind of a weird combo with Boulder Smash, because Boulder Smash makes you take less damage because the towers are frozen and they're not attacking you. So the best way to approach this, like right when you come on turn the corner on the island, you want to use Shield of Savagery, and then while you have the bonus breath damage is when you want to use the freeze on Boulder Smash, so that you don't get stunned, you don't get ice flacked, and lose that bonus breath damage. We also have Primal Strength, which is a passive that every 5 seconds you're going to heal and get a stacking damage boost. We've tried a couple of these in the past, and I really like that this encourages Montague to go after longer bases, because he gets more benefit out of the stacking breath damage. And then getting a dragon that just heals over time is pretty cool. It plays very differently when you're not worrying about healing yourself with your spells. That said, he has less healing than normal. He heals like, well, can I do my math correctly? 1.4% of his health every second on average. Yes, 1.6%. There we go.
I'm terrible at math.
He heals a small amount of his health every second, and comboing that with the freeze to get the maximum effect out of your heal. Balancing adaptive flak resist is very important on this dragon, because setting your resist to the right one is very important, because you don't have as much healing if you make that mistake and you don't block the best tower at every moment. But at the same time, trying to spam adaptive flak resist to get that rage is really good for keeping up Boulder Smash. So the dragons, he's got a 2 rage spell and a 1 rage spell, and that's it. So being able to cast those 2 spells whenever you want them is really important.
Nice. Okay, I still need to edit my slide a little bit. So is adaptive flak resist, that's active, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. That's active.
It's both an active and a your active changes your passive.
Right.
So
maybe it is correct. I'm gonna go ahead and take credit for that one too. Nice.
Just to see a question. Taco asks, I know that Hyaku with his boulder spell has a lot of glitches with it not sticking, doing damage. I don't believe so. The main issue I have found with, I think it's particularly with warriors with these projectile spells, is that tapping the button and then tapping on the towers too quickly is what causes it to not stick. Even though from what I found, I didn't see any of those problems when I was flying this dragon. So, and I think maybe I was flying it too slow, but I don't think we're going to have those problems here. But if you guys do notice any of that, then please bring it up on the forums so we can look into it, because we take that stuff really seriously. And I've had some sticking issues with other spells, and whenever that happens, your spell doesn't work, you were hoping it would work, it was probably a freeze, and now those towers aren't frozen, and then you die, and that's super lame.
Super lame. I hate dying, just in real life, for sure.
For real, yeah. Screw dying.
Okay, well then we're gonna move on to the next dragon here. Who is it? It's Makota! Okay, so I actually think Makota looks super dope. He's got this glowing, fiery thing in his chest. He's a worm, right? He's a worm. They don't have any limbs, right?
Yes. I think worm is the. I should know my dragon
Me
terminology.
too. I feel like we work on a game called War Dragons.
I don't think it's a worm because like its wings are limbs. Yes.
I think like legs and arms, depending on how you look at it, are limbs, but I don't know if wings are limbs.
I
Chad,
feel
if
like
you know, Chad.
wings are like arms because like if it's gonna rest, it's gonna like sit on its wings. I think.
Okay, I'd buy that. All right, Chad, if you know your mythical beast, tell us what Makota is besides half elk, half I don't know. We got like a. I think okay. For real talk though, I think Makota looks super cool. Actually, this is the thing this is the scariest dragon. I think. I like the sort of elk brought into this. A couple of these dragons have like really nice furry manes, which is cool because like they're not just like forest dragons. They're like wintry forest dragons, which I think is cool. Carrion was more of a swamp dragon, and of course we have Sephoth coming up, who's not in a forest at all, but could live in like one of those or underwater forests. You know what I mean, with all the kelp. Which I think is like a real thing. I don't know if I made that up. I'm not really an aquatic botanist. I don't even know what that would be called. And then who was our first? Oh, Rosaeus I still think is pretty cool. But Rosaeus is more like an underbrush dragon. Okay, so let's look at Makota. How did you come up with the name Makota? Tell us about the Makota's origin story.
So, Lacrima and I were really torn with how to work with this dragon, and the elk kind of spooky spirit aspect resonated quite hard. So we were looking into like maybe some tribal names or something that kind of. This one was mostly Lacrima and his infinite obscure wisdom of various cultures, so I will allocate credit to him, but I think it fits.
So his name is based off Lakota, the indigenous tribe?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. I think that's awesome. Lacrima, by the way, everybody, in case you don't know, writes all the lore, and what else is Lacrima responsible for?
He works a fair amount on he is very impassioned with all the writing, doing short stories, the lore for the dragons, working on their names, their descriptions, their like flavor line, everything you see. If there's text about dragons, it's him. And he's also a designer on the team, so he's working on various features, improvements to the game. I'm not entirely sure what he's working on right now, but in the past, I believe. Oh goodness, what's a good one? I think he worked on Dungeons, the original launch of Dungeons, and like also part of all the lore and the art for Dungeons as well, but also the mechanics and the base implementation and everything like that. I'm not super familiar with what he's working on right now.
Lacrima's got like a pretty cool job where he kind of just does whatever he wants. I want that job. I'm going to start writing stories about dragons, and you'll see them soon in a blog post near you, dear readers. Makota is going to be my first dragon that I write lore about. He's going to be a big fan of dark coffee. He doesn't like Starbucks. He prefers Canadian brands. And he's nicer than he looks. So that's the start of my lore for Makota. I hope you all enjoyed that. We are going to move on to his spell kit now, or its spell kit. I kind of stop calling him Dude Dragons. Dude Dragons. Okay. Let's look at Makota. We've got a question before we start. Somebody asked, why are we getting a second Wind Invoker 2 tiers in a row?
That's a good question. The honest answer is that with there being so few invokers, it's very difficult to balance the number of each class that we have, because that makes the types of dragons that Art can create very limited. Like, we have 6 now, and
that's interesting.
We've had it. It's year 2. Yes.
Wow.
Can I remember? Is it just 1? I think it's just 1 year. Yeah, a year ago this season actually was when Namaka first came out, and then we've just gotten 1 with each season, and 3 lineage invokers, so 7 actually. And as a result, like we can't. There's we already can't have 2 of each element because the invokers haven't been out for that long.
Right.
So I think going forward, what we want to do is let art have, within reason, let art have like complete creative freedom of, okay, what cool invokers do you want to make? Don't really worry about the element. We'll try and make it work because we're trying to round out the identity of the class, what they can look like. All of the invokers have looked super different compared to the various other classes, where you have some dragons that kind of overlap in visual style, whereas all 7 that we've had so far like super unique looking. And I would rather that be the case, and maybe there's some doubling up on elements, than telling art you have to make an ice invoker, you have to make a dark invoker because we need it for certain balances.
Sure. So there's 4 different dragon types, and we introduced Invoker 4 years into War Dragons. Is there any possibility we're going to get a new dragon type soon? And what would that look like? What would they play like?
Outside of seeing that everybody, like, invokers are a success, we internally think they're cool, players think they're cool. As a result, like, the effort to make a new class is definitely worth it, and we really like what invokers added to the game. That said, we don't like have any active designs right now for what a new class would be. We don't know if it would be another hybrid class. Would it be something completely different? The main challenge there is making a class feel distinct from the others is probably one of the most challenging things that could be done for designing dragons. Like, the dragon has to have like a new breath type, because that's kind of like the core identity of how dragons work. And in the case of invokers, it's kind of like a hunter sorcerer hybrid, in that it has a finite amount of ammo and casts spells with its breath attack. Is the new class going to be a hybrid of 2 of the other 3? Could it be like a hunter warrior or a warrior sorcerer? What could that possibly be? Would we even do something that's maybe more different than just kind of making a new hybrid class? And like, again, this is like not being able to comprehend things because they're so different. And short answer is no, we don't have plans for the future, but I wouldn't count it out simply because we really liked how our first new class worked. And that's definitely grounds for like, hey, it was a universal success the first time, so why shouldn't we try again?
Yeah. Yeah, I love the idea of having new dragons come out. I mean, I didn't know the Invoker was soon. I don't think I have an Invoker yet, unless there's one in the past 2 seasons that came out in the lines, not the lineage. But yeah. Anyway, who did?
I guess yeah. If you got Krelos this season, then you probably don't have Dross.
Oh, right? I do have Dross.
Okay, yeah, Dross is okay.
Oh, I just haven't used him. Look, I really love like 3 dragons, and my strong ones are Asura, the Krelos, and Hausen. So actually, those are my strongest dragons.
Oh, there you go.
So It's hard, and Lockjaw is coming up pretty quick. I was using our Borlith for a while, but then Krelos came along, and I just basically want to play Krelos dragons. Like, I just want to play a game called Krelos, actually. He's my favorite. So here's Makota. Let's look at him.
Sure. So invoke, or the words. Makota's invoke spell is invoke dread, and this is a bringing back the invoke freeze that we originally saw in Namaka. Though this one is a much smaller area of effect. You can maybe only hit like 2 or 3 towers with it, and the freeze duration is very long. The freeze duration is 5 seconds. When the reload duration is, I want to say, 2 seconds. So you can freeze the towers and then reload and then freeze stuff again before the original towers are unfrozen. So like the ability to disable lots of towers is a notable aspect of this dragon. Alongside that, we have Ritual of Rebinding, which is very similar to Morak's like rapid cooling, like instant reload. So to skip that 2-second period. So in the case of this, you can freeze 3 towers with Invoke Dread, instantly reload, and then freeze more. And that's like 10 seconds of tower disabling right there, which is ridiculous. And then we also have the other 2 spells or defensive options. We have Shield of Souls, which is a invincibility shield that will apply healing marks when the shield expires, very similar to Northern Lights. And then this is Makota's the only way of restoring health, and you need to balance Shield of Souls with Adaptive Flak Resist and Invoke Dread, and particularly like you can freeze some towers and then set Adaptive Flak Resist to the tower that's not frozen, so you're either taking no damage or very low damage from lots of towers. Makota's Destruction's a little on the lower side. Most of its damage comes from its breath attack and then doubling up on that with Ritual Rebinding. So it's very huntery in that regard, where you're using your breath attack a lot and you're using a free target spell. And then you're kind of managing your ammo and how frequently you can attack, and then relying on your adaptive resist and your shield to defend yourself.
All right, anybody have any questions about Makota? We're going to try to steam through the last couple of dragons here. I guess we only have one more. So save your questions for Makota. We're going to move on to Sephoth. We're getting a little long here, and I feel like Lawson's throat's getting pretty dry. Am I right about this?
Well, I've got some water, so we're doing
okay. All right. We've got about 20 minutes left in the stream, so we're going to go through Sephoth real quick. Save your questions. We'll spend the last 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so, answering questions, so stay alert in there. I know we're starting to drop off some viewers because I imagine this is a pretty long stream for most people, but if you're listening to us at work and we're sort of like an ASMR for you, that's really cool. Don't tell us about it because that rudes me out. But anyways, we have Sephoth. Let's go. Sephoth is obviously a squid dragon. He looks awesome. This is something that this is actually sort of more along something that I like. Now, one of the weird things about Sephoth, I will say, is that with all of the really rich and sort of luscious textures that we've gotten throughout all of the dragons in this tier, Sephoth looks weird in the game, and I say this in a good way. Like with Makota and Montague, we've got these like real hairy dragons, and then with Crasta, he's like real, he's got these thick vines everywhere. And I also think Rosaeus is pretty unique looking. But Sephoth has one of the most interesting like body textures that I've seen on a dragon in the game so far. And he kind of looks like, I don't really know how to describe it. He's smooth,
Mm-hmm.
And at first, actually, I remember when I first saw the dragon flying, I was like, oh, maybe they're not done yet. And then I realized, actually, that probably makes most sense. He's in the water. Why would he have, he's got to be hydrodynamic. Why would he have a lot of bumps and stuff on him? So Sephoth is actually pretty creepy, in my opinion. He doesn't look that creepy here, but when you're flying him, it's a little unsettling because he's, I don't know. To me, it's very, I really like Lovecraft stories. To me, this is super Lovecraftian. And I love the tentacles and stuff, and he's got wings, and you're sort of wondering, does he use his wings as fins, right? Because he's underwater, and then you think like manta rays. So how did you come up with Sephoth? What's the story? What is he called? The sea kraken?
Yeah. So we had Sephoth. We actually had the art for Sephoth quite some time ago, and we were trying to figure out okay, where can we put the squid dragon? And he kind of felt a little spooky for last summer, where we released Namaka and we had all those aquatic dragons. Sephoth just kind of felt dark, and looking at him, he kind of felt like this guy's kind of like a Davy. Whatever time I look at him, I think of the Davy Jones Disney character with a pickle face, which I think is awesome. But and then we had our Wither Moon season, which was really cosmic horror, and pretty heavily on the space aspect of that, and not necessarily the subterranean or aquatic elements of that. So we didn't quite fit there, and we had our kind of dark, mysterious, spooky forest coming. Right. And we felt okay, this seems pretty appropriate. Aesthetically, he matches from a mood perspective, maybe not necessarily from a setting perspective, but I think that both in name and appear, when put next to the other dragons, he may look pretty unique, but he feels like he belongs there. So, and I'm down for the spooky Davy Jones squid dragon. So. Me
too. I also think his logo is sick. That's one of the cooler logos I've seen. Yeah, I'm really excited to play Sephoth 2 again in 3 or 4 years, but let's let's learn more about him. I'm excited to get to the Eldritch tier in general and the Withermoon season. How did we land on Dark Forest?
We were trying to pick a setting that we hadn't visited in a while, both in a season or in a lineage tier. For our seasons, we'd done a lot of cultural references and not a lot of setting references. So we wanted to go back and touch on something that we hadn't done in a while. And a season we really liked was, oh goodness, chat, you'll have to help me out. What was our cool Celtic, don't hurt me, season where we had, it was the season with No-Leg and Four and the dragons with the runic sigils, and there's kind of like a fey Celtic forest, but that was a bit a bit heavy on the magic and the specific cultural reference, and not as much on the like actual forest dragons.
Sure.
And being able to have some dragons that have some animal or nature inspirations, being independent of a specific culture, so we can put a lot of different references together, like being able to have a dragon that is furry and loosely inspired by like a Native American tribe name, having a dragon that looks like a rose vine or an enchanted magic crystal. It's by being generic, it is like somehow more distinct, which is a little strange. Thank you, Springville, everybody.
Springville.
I should know this, but I appreciate that you have my back. But yeah, I think trying to just go somewhere we haven't gone before is generally our goal, but kind of going back to what made a tier of dragons really interesting was it didn't necessarily need to have a complicated theme. Like a lot of our past, both Abyssal and Eldritch had pretty niche themes, and that really kind of constrained what sorts of dragons you could include. But I always like some of our older tiers, like Obsidian, where like it's a loose idea that allows you to combine a lot of different dragons under one label, and they all kind of feel connected, even though they look very distinct from each other.
We've got some good ideas for next settings. A Stone Age would be really cool, or space themed. I think we just had a space themed, but that'd be cool.
I think we did like cosmic horror, but that was like very much on the cosmic horror. Like there were tentacles and lots of eyes, and there was like a couple dragons. Like one was like a meteor that came from space and was a dragon type of deal. But actual like dragons based off of celestial phenomena like stars or black holes or planets or moons or like that sort of thing, we haven't done that. God, those would be I don't know how those dragons would fit. It would be pretty challenging, but I mean, like the colors and the visual imagery of space is really cool, so that'd be a fun challenge.
I'd love to see an entire season based on the 1996 Chicago Bulls. So we get like we get a Michael Jordan dragon. He's the best one, obviously. We get Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, Luke Longley, Ron Harper. Just like the best dragons. They were the best basketball team ever. I'm 5'6", so I can't play basketball. So I look up to them both figuratively and literally. So that's right, everybody. I'm a shorty. Let's look at Sephoth's spells. Oh, he's got a really interesting one. It was so interesting that I did not even understand what I was looking at when I was trying to put this together. The Ocean Scourge and Capsize.
Yeah, we can start with that one. So a number of our dragons have these spells where it's multiple spells that live in one slot. And the first time we debuted this was with Ronin way back in the day for our like feudal Japan-inspired season. And he had like these sword slashes that grew in intensity, so you could like cast it 3 times really quickly, and then it would go on a long cooldown. And this is very similar to how Ocean Scourge works, which is you have 2 casts of a freeze spell that you can cast one after another really quickly, and then a longer cooldown. And in this case, you can freeze. I think each of these need to hit 2 to 3 towers if aimed well. So you can freeze a fair amount per rotation period, and also just because it gives you 2 casts, it gives you double the damage, which is really strong as well. The spell I'm most excited for is Summon the Lost. We've had a number of summons in the past where you summon a dragon to come help you and attack towers, but we've never been able to summon something that's not a dragon. And the art team worked super hard, so we can now summon a ghost ship.
It looks
that
so
will,
cool. Yeah,
it
it's
looks
cool.
So cool. And you have the spectral blue transparent ghost ship that attacks towers. It functions very similarly to the repeatable summons we've seen in the past, but the novelty of summoning like a haunted pirate ship to attack towers is super awesome. It's also got like way above average stats for this sort of spell. Due to the dragon not having access to a ton of damage in its kit, with Ocean Scourge being the only way where it can choose what gets damaged, having the summon be super beefy, and like it has pretty much the summon is the same amount of health as the dragon, but you can summon over and over again to tank damage for you. Other than that, we have Blood Fury and Magic Barrier. Blood Fury is going to be really good at keeping Summon the Lost up. The dragon really relies on having the ship out in front, dealing damage and tanking shots. And Blood Fury should allow you to almost always have enough rage to be able to keep Summon the Lost up. And then Magic Barrier is to protect Sephoth from rage training effects. The dragon needs its rage very, very much. And having the free white invincibility shield is really valuable for those clutch moments where you can react to the Mage Tower super shot that's midair, or you can put up your shield and you can block it.
Nice. Okay, so I've got a different idea for a new setting for the dragon. So I don't think you took Chicago Bulls super well, which is fine. I get it. I don't even know if we have the access to that IP, so maybe that's not a good idea anyway. But what about famous rock star dragons? So I'm thinking Freddie Mercury dragon's got big old teeth, little mustache, yellow, like, yellow skin because he got that yellow coat. Jimi Hendrix, he's got a guitar. He's maybe like a Bruce Springsteen. He's got like a little American flag bandana out of. Okay, we're not into it. All right, chat. Why don't you keep giving us better ideas? If you can come up.
Galileo, that's closer.
It's closer? Okay, wow. That was. I thought I was getting farther away. Because my other idea was dragons based on desserts, like an apple pie dragon, like a cupcake. That'd be. I mean, I'm just real hungry because we've been doing this stream for about an hour and a half. So we've definitely. Ooh, an Alice Cooper dragon would be cool. Oh, that is dope. Yeah, it's a good idea. So we're at the end of the stream. I'm going to go ahead and put away the... is that it? Let's make sure. If anybody wants to see a dragon, let me know. I'm going to scroll through them here. You can kind of see them all at the same time. Oh, right. Copyright. Thank you. You're right. You're right, Carduel. So I think now's probably the time. We got like 10 minutes to answer questions. One of the things that is really interesting to me about being able to talk to Lawson as... somebody who plays video games is that Lawson is designing a video game, which is cool. And so rarely, I think, do you actually get to talk to somebody who designs video games. So if everybody in chat's down with it, you can ask Word Dragon specific questions. You can ask Pocket Gems questions if you want. I don't know how well we're going to be able to answer those. But if you have questions about designing video games and how you get into that, I'm sure Lawson wouldn't mind answering some questions. All right, we're going to see Montague. Everybody go ahead and ask questions. You're going to hear me talk about that in about 5 seconds. And then you're going to hear me explain about how you're going to hear me talk about it in about 5 seconds after that. So we're looking at Montague again. Is it okay if I link my video of them flying? Taco, go ahead. I hope he doesn't try to ban you. All right, Lawson is here to answer questions on the Verdant tier. You can ask him about the next season, see if he'll slip and tell you any information.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. Any info?
Ardian would never forgive me.
Who? Oh, Ardian wouldn't? I actually am an aspiring dragon designer myself, helped name some of the spells for the next dragons, and they all sound like my name, so you'll know. One of the dragons has a spell called Shmalaleo, and he basically just goes backwards and to the very beginning of the map, and you just get stuck there because that's about how my streams work. All right, some questions coming up. Blackfire asks, any info on the breeding combos that are using Verdant parents?
So we included the ways you breed from Eldritch into Verdant in here, which is to like you need this specific Eldritch Mythic and this specific Legendary in order to obtain the 6 dragons we've seen today. I believe we will have full information on the specific paths when the dragons release next week. I believe that's going to be part of our our big release notes for this tier. There's going to be a lot of information there, but I think we can include that. And I agree that being able to plan in advance and not having to breed by the seat of your pants is important.
Okay. Next question. Somebody asks, are there still open spots in GPF? When would applicants hear back about admissions? So I've pretty much settled on 3 to 5 applicants. Probably going to let 3 in at first, and then the rest of the 5 on the list are going to be backups just in case somebody can't do it for whatever reason. And I think I could go ahead and announce those names now, if I remember all of them. One of them is Justin with a bunch of numbers. I forgot the numbers. Justin's an excellent flyer. He was recommended by the rest of the GPF, who said he's one of the best flyers in the game. Angela, again, I know like the first part, but then there's a bunch in the back. Angela's going to be there, I believe. Daedalus is going to be there. And not favoritism, because I know he's the leader of my team. We die for gold. And who else is going to be there? F is on the back end of that list, and there's somebody else who I'm forgetting right now, and it's not because they're not important. I just haven't looked at it for a little bit. So congratulations to those 4, and there's another one. Maybe I can look it up while we're chatting. Yeah, one of the things about GPF is it's a rolling admission. So don't worry if you're not in now or if you want to be in later. And basically what we're looking for when somebody joins the GPF is somebody who's going to help us test flying. They're gonna be good flyers. They're gonna represent different levels in the War Dragons player base. For example, Daedalus has a gold team, and he's one of the few GPF members that is below like one of the elite levels on team wise. So we want to make sure we get people representing every sort of voice that exists within the community. This is going to take me a while to find. Also, one of the things that we want to see, Dad's also going to be asked to join. So it's Justin, Daedalus, Dad, Angela, and F with 2 of those folks being on sort of a waiting list. We'll be the next in line with 3 people coming in immediately. So what does the GPF do? So this is something that people ask a lot. GPF is there to help us make decisions, so we'll run certain things by them. They test all of our dragons. They test most of the new features. One of the things we look for in GPF members is, are they well liked by the community? Are they nominated by a lot of people? Do they represent themselves well in the forum? So like if they're in there causing trouble or kind of trash posting or whatever you want to call that, if they're not being super representative of a voice that we like, maybe we talk to them about it. It's the same for the CF as well. But one of the things we definitely look for is a history of helping out in the forums. So if you want to join GPF and you haven't been really super active in giving your feedback that's constructive, that's something that we look for. There are a couple of good examples. Fiery Fiery X something Fire X Fire has been doing a really good job recently of giving good positive feedback. And if you wonder what good positive feedback looks like, you can just ask me. I usually give you that format of X is happening, X causes Y. If we do Z, it'll change X and Y won't happen anymore. Just good positive feedback like that. We want to hear clear, thought out reasons. Goodness gracious. Yeah, Fire X Fury, that's who it is. And I think that's what we're looking for. And in certain times during the GPF, we're looking for very specific skills. So right now we need more people to test the dragons. A lot of people in the GPF right now are really wonderful, thoughtful about how the economy works and how to bring balance to the game. And but some of them can't test dragons because of their device, or maybe maybe flying isn't their particular skill. So right now we're looking for great flyers. So that's what's going on. CF is the same because that question's bound to come up. How do you join the CF? CF is a lot of the same. We want you to have been creating for the community for a while so we can see the quality of the content. One of the things I'd like to do is get more creators that speak other languages. I recently invited Imperium92, who speaks Italian, into the CF, and there's somebody that speaks Turkish who I'm trying to get into the CF right now as well. So that's my goal right now is to get more language speakers who create good content. I'd really like a Chinese, somebody speaking Chinese. I'd really like somebody who speaks one of the popular languages in India to be a creator right now, because those are two languages that we don't serve very well with our content yet. So anyways, those are just some ideas. And obviously when you join the CF, one of the ways that you get rewards is that you have a social media presence set up and people come see your content. So that's how, those are some of the things we look for. So congratulations again to all those new GPF members. I will probably start looking at new GPF members a little farther down the line as we need them. Usually when somebody is phased out or leaves GPF for whatever reason, then I'll try to replace them with somebody. But yeah, it's an ongoing thing. There's no term limits or anything. As long as you're around and you want to be in GPF, you get to be in it if you're already in it. Or if you misrepresent yourself or start behaving badly, then you might be asked to leave. That's GPF stuff. Okay, back to questions. I haven't seen... Oh yeah, Japanese YouTuber would be great. I would love to get some Japanese language speakers. When are the new prizes in the Lockjaw and Housing branches going to be revealed?
Those should be very soon. As soon as next, whenever these dragons go live, now that the name of the tier is out, and that when these dragons are out, they're now going to be scaling to the same amount. We didn't want to release their Verdant Stone prize until A, we announced the Verdant Dragons, not to give away the name, and B, until you could breed the Verdant Dragons, because in order to use the stone in the Summer Mythic branches, you need to have bred one of these 6 dragons that's coming out next week.
Okay, final question, I think. Do you take submissions for dragons? This is interesting because I know at one point that there was a dragon that was basically designed on stream, and I've seen some dragon submissions happen in the forums. This is actually good information for me too. Do we pass those on? Do we look at other people's submissions?
Yes. Outside of those, Twitch builds a dragon or Twitch builds a rider event, I pay attention to just about every forum post saying, hey, you should make a dragon that does this, either from an art perspective or a mechanics perspective, and then those definitely go into our considerations. There have been plenty of either individual spells or overall ideas from a dragon that the community has suggested that has made its way into the game. Short answer, yes, we are happy to hear everyone's ideas about what dragons they think would be awesome, and if we can find a good place to include those ideas, then we're more than happy to.
All right, everybody. I think that's all for us. I'm going to go drink something for the first time in 2 hours, so that'll be exciting. The stream, the next time we decide to live stream, we just got a new program that is apparently very awesome. Even though today it was a little little goofy. It's very cool, and so hopefully our streams will start to look a little more polished. I'm also building a real studio in my house, since we're not allowed to go back to the office for like another year. So hopefully this will become something that we can do more regularly, and when we do it, it won't be you watching me fiddle around with 7 different windows forever. Oh, Lawson, I just saw you yawn when I was talking. My gosh, I see how it is. It's hot and sticky.
It's Monday too.
It is Monday. Goodness gracious. Okay, if anybody has questions for Lawson, you can put them in the live stream thread, and he might have time to pop into the forums later and answer them. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're out for now. This is PG Galileo signing out. Lawson, I'm going to come back to you if you want to say goodbye.
It was great seeing everybody. I love seeing the new faces and recognizing people's names as well. Super excited to see what everybody thinks of these dragons. And if you guys have any further questions, comments, just please mention me on the forums. It's been great seeing you guys.